Well, let's go ahead and get started. Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to today's Water Cooler Chat, where we talk about all things Livepeer, whether it's delegating, broadcasting, transcoding, developing, or anything to do on the Livepeer network. We're here to ask questions and get answers. Great. So we got a list of topics here we'll go through. The first thing I'm going to cover is a quick announcement from the Livepeer Innovators DAO. We do have a new member. I believe his name is MZ, and yeah, he just voted in. Voting ended, I believe, on Sunday, and yeah, we have a new member coming in with a wealth of experience in DAOs. So yeah, big welcome to MZ into the DAO. Other than that, yeah, no new updates from the Livepeer Innovators DAO. We'll probably schedule our next call in a couple weeks. I think it's already scheduled, and then we will yeah, continue on with that conversation. So let's jump into the first topic from one of our community members, Pawn, about inflation and delegation. Pawn, do you want to tell us what you're seeing in the world of inflation for LPT and what your thoughts are?
Right. Right. Don't get me wrong. Everyone loves more rewards, but I love McDonald's as well. But I can't eat it every day. So our inflation rate is going.
Dude, that's the best. Okay, I'm just gonna stop right there. That was the best analogy I've ever heard. That was incredible.
I love McDonald's too. So tell me why I can't eat my French fries. Why am I going to be unhealthy?
Yeah, just we're gonna have to start rolling you instead of you walking.
Yeah,
So what I'm saying, basically, our inflation rate is going up, and it's gonna become unhealthy. Well, probably it is unhealthy now. So we lost the big orchestrator with 700,000 LPT to it. So probably a couple of days ago, everyone noticed a big jump in their LPT rewards. So I noticed myself, I got about 6 or 7% more a couple of days ago. Today we had another over 300,000 LPT and delegated from a network. So I'm just thinking we should try to control it somehow, or some kind of bird mechanism, or just put the ceiling to inflation rate. End of the day, just if we're gonna flood the market with tons of LPT, it's gonna affect the price as well. That's not a good thing, is it?
Interesting point of view. Anyone else have any comments on the inflation of LPT?
I had a question about the security risk there. If you have a really rich investor, for example, and he buys a lot of LPT and he has a lot of LPT and he takes it all out, that will also cause way more inflation even. Is that a problem? Or
Well,
Yes. Yeah, so someone gonna delegate a lot of LPT, our inflation rate gonna go up.
yeah, so some bad actor could use that if he has a lot of money to his advantage there.
well, I think the purpose of inflation, the original concept around it was to incentivize people to participate in the security of the network, right? That is the number one reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we could say, well, how much security do we need in the network? And then we could say, if people aren't participating, how do we incentivize them to participate? And by giving them inflation is rewards for staking is a positive. So I think we can all agree that that's a fine mechanism. I think it just comes down to the amounts. And like Doug was saying in previous conversations, the 50% target rate of whether the inflation rises or falls is quite arbitrary. And it was set like that in the initial protocol and has never changed. So, but at the same time, I'm surprised we still don't have over 50% staked. Like, why are people undelegating with such high inflation rewards? Right? Like, seems crazy.
Yeah, so if you're gonna look at the graphs in the last couple of days, our participation rate dropped 3%. So it's gonna drop down again tomorrow. So I reckon we're gonna be about 41%, maybe a bit more, 41.5, I'm guessing. So I'm just thinking, should we create a lib proposal to put the ceiling for inflation rate.
Would you want the ceiling to be on the percentage of inflation of daily minted? So, you know, if we're under 50%, it still increases until it hits the ceiling, kind of thing. And then once it hits the ceiling, it just stays there.
Yeah, something like that. End of the day, I understand that people gonna come in a network thinking, oh, it's rewards. Well, look at some orchestrators now. It's got like return is nearly 40%, 38.7%. Right, that's together with ETH and inflation rewards. That's quite high as well. So if you hit the participation rate at 43%, and inflation rate just stops at that point, so it can't go any higher.
What was your proposed maximum?
I'm not really sure. I'm not someone more clever than me needs to be looking into it. Like we got a 42.4% participation rate, and it's what 0.036 inflation rate. Just even like that, cap it at this, so that it wouldn't be able to go any higher.
I think
inflation rate itself.
Like I think like a 40% inflation, like, is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But it's also like probably the maximum amount of, you know, push you could probably give to people to stake without them starting to become a little skeptical of inflation to begin with. Like, because I think the main problem is that there is no ceiling, and so this thing could pump up to 100%, 200%. Like it has no upper limit, right? Once you hit 100% inflation, like, does anyone take it seriously, right? Or
what about so if you would think about it, 30% ceiling for inflation rate, that would be the maximum. I mean, 30% inflation rate. So that's more than generous already, isn't it?
Well, if you remember from last year, the end of the year, that we saw a lot of, you know, investors staking move off of orchestrators, and then, you know, later in January it came back. So I'd anticipate more downward, you know, some more delegation removal. So what happens in that scenario? Does it recover? I mean, what do you think is going to happen? Because we know there's going to be some more stake getting removed by the end of the year, or at least we anticipate. Right.
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
Yeah, it will be. So last year, one of the investors removed all the stake of the network to do their books, as Mike says. And after a couple of weeks, he brought it back into the network. So even now, it's probably going to be what, another 400, 500K undelegated in the next month, I do believe. So inflation rate is going to skyrocket for them days.
Yeah, it'll get pretty crazy because people keep on delegating. It just keeps rising until we hit that 50% arbitrary, and then it starts decreasing. With that being said, though, you know, the inflation is giving extreme rewards to people who are dedicated to staying in the network, right? All of us here that are in this call basically have delegation, and so we're the beneficiary of this inflation. And as much as inflation is creating new tokens, it's also just, like, in reality, it's just diluting non-active participants, right? And the real question is, to what degree do we want to dilute non-active participants? And I think that's a good question, because are non-active participants in Livepeer bad actors that we need to devalue, or are they just participating and helping Livepeer in a totally different way, like maybe liquidity providing, right? And all of a sudden now there's such a big, you're getting diluted so fast out of your liquidity pools that, you know, you're almost punishing liquidity providers because inflation is so high, even though they're providing potentially a very beneficial service to the ecosystem, right? I wonder if you could almost say like what if inflation wasn't given to orchestrators directly, but maybe like orchestrators and delegators, but maybe it was like given to liquidity providers as well, and we somehow included them in the network as participating as good actors. Would like maybe it's just an incentive problem. Maybe we just need to properly build incentives around what we want to actually happen.
Not really sure would that work. We've probably seen it in history, people printing money and that money, people having money in the wheelbarrows, but can't really use it.
Although it's not a perfectly good example, because those were hierarchical, like the money printer was given to select elites to then spend, and they were the beneficiaries of it, whereas the people who are hardworking citizens got their money inflated away. And so, you know, if we're giving the inflation to the stakers in the system and we value the stakers, then really the inflation is going to the right people, right? So I don't think it's like I know that inflation is like in like countries and monetary policy in like the traditional world is looked upon as quite a negative thing, but in this circumstance, it just doesn't just not a good apples to apples comparison. So I would just I'm just thinking out loud, obviously, but
No, that's fine. We all think. I'm just not really sure is increasing inflation. Well, the inflation rate is just gonna help anyone in the long run.
I mean, it'll probably help orchestrators stick around and delegators. It probably will do that, and so that's like these water cooler chats are mostly orchestrators and delegators. So I have a feeling inflation is what keeps us around.
Yeah, but if inflation keeps going up, long term, wouldn't the token price naturally go down? If the supply is just ever increasing slowly but surely, I mean that doesn't help us.
Yeah, inflation. If you have constant demand for the token, then inflation is directly proportional to the price decline, which would actually just even out for the orchestrators, because if the market cap stays the same, the token becomes less, but you have more of it. So it's kind of tomato. From an investing, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, long term, I just struggle to see that it wouldn't just cause sentiment to go kind of the wrong way. If the token price keeps declining and the supply keeps increasing, psychologically, it just seems like a no-brainer not to hold that token and just to get rid of it as soon as you have it. And at that point, it's a shit coin, right? And people are just going to degen into it, do whatever. And it will just be something that continuously grows. And I feel like a burn mechanism or something would be a really bullish use case for LPT, even if it means giving away some of our rewards or burning some of the treasury. It just makes a lot more sense for the long term, because we still want to be earning LPT in 10 years, right? So that's where I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny because as inflation happens, and if the price stays constant, technically the market cap increases, which actually gets us higher up on coin market cap. so even though the price doesn't increase, we go up in value, total value for the project. But that's only, and then if it maintains its price. But I do believe that if market cap's going up but pricing is going down, then you could just be it's just a shit coin or something like this. That's only if you're holding it and not staking in the network. You know, you could argue that by staking in the network, you're defending yourself against the inflation of the network, right? Because the whole point of Livepeer is that you can defend against inflation by contributing to the security of it. So therefore, you don't get inflated away, right? Whereas in standard economics, right, it's much harder to do that. It's harder to keep your money from inflating away if the government just gives, you know. So, but yeah, maybe I should not keep coming back to this government parallel. But I like Pon's idea of like maybe a cap, like an inflation cap, because once we get to 100% inflation, I think the optics, like Authority was saying, I think the optics of it start to get really skewed, and people just look at it, put it under one category of shitcoin.
Yeah, so let's try to work out a decent number for a cap.
I also think that maybe there should be a floor cap too. Like, because I thought about this too. I thought, well, if we're over 50%, like say we get to 60% or 70% delegation, you know, that's wonderful. But inflation can go to 0. And do we want 0 inflation? Like, maybe we want to have a minimum inflation of 5% to keep rewarding those delegators who are participating, but then put a maximum inflation so that we don't drive ourselves into the ground with hyperinflation.
Yeah, you're probably right on that, especially with today's ETH payouts or lucky tickets, let's say that. So cap ceiling both ways. Just make sure everything can stay healthy. Or as Authority has some kind of burn mechanism, or every month donate something like from a treasury, burn some of it off.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of burn mechanisms. I think those don't work as well as people think they do, but I think putting a cap on the inflation and then maybe just a minimum on the inflation would allow, you know, us to further build some boundaries. Like, you know, we could say a maximum inflation of 20% and a minimum inflation of 2%, and then, you know, that way if it's very healthy and there's lots of participation, you know, 2% inflation is quite manageable and realistic. And but if our arbitrary 50% delegation isn't reached, then we could, you know, okay, we'll increase it to 20 and stop there, right? But yeah, like there's definitely a good conversation about inflation getting out of control, because it's heading in that direction. There is no upper bounds, right? It can get pretty out of control.
Yeah, so someone clever enough needs to work out the numbers.
Does anyone else have any opinions on inflation?
Yeah, short one. You go first.
Yeah, all I was going to say is I guess we can always propose an EIP to change the percent to something other than 50%, just to mitigate the issues of it just continuously increasing right now. But maybe that's a last resort.
And when you say EIP, I think you mean LIP, correct?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you caught up in that Ethereum world. I get it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm there too. I think that would be a quick fix because it's already a parameter in the network. So you could easily say, hey, let's just decrease it to 35% and start lowering the inflation. We could pass that vote in 10 days and there would be no protocol change at all. It would just be a parameter update. I think that'd be a pretty quick band-aid solution. And maybe we self-govern. Like, there's nothing saying we can't just self-govern 20% as a high upper limit and 2% as a lower limit. Like, because that would require a whole protocol kind of overhaul. We'd have to add those logics into the smart contracts. Whereas change right now, we could easily just, as a community, say, hey, I think inflation's getting out too high. Any person can propose an LIP to lower it. The target, we could lower it to 35%, and within 10 days we could pass that and get things under control. So maybe that's a way forward, right? Transcode, you had a comment?
Yeah, a small one. I asked in the chat if it's also maybe a possibility to have different kind of staking as well. So long time staking. If I want to stake for 2 years, I get an extra bonus. So you incentivize people to commit to a long stake. Is that an idea? Maybe I'm just throwing something out there.
Yeah, I think that's possible. Again, would require logic added to the smart contracts, and it wouldn't be trivial. So I guess it would just come down to making a really good case against the benefits of doing that.
Okay, I will think about it in the future and maybe
yeah, no,
write something down.
Yeah, but these kind of ideas are great, right? The shooting around ideas that help fix this problem. It's always really good. So yeah, I like that idea.
I guess
Thank
like
you.
the bigger question is, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's just a thank you.
Okay. I mean, why? I mean, I'm assuming that this is the participation is low is because people don't have. Is this because people don't have faith in Livepeer and they're selling off all their tokens? Because I mean, the only place these tokens are coming from is from people that were previously staking and I'm assuming moving them over to L1 and selling them, or at least swapping them out somewhere. So, is there a bigger problem that we need to look into?
That's a good comment.
I mean, why don't people want to own Livepeer token? I mean, I'm assuming most people don't. Well, I mean, there people are buying it and they're not staking it. So it's like, what's their purpose? I mean, do they just want it to be liquid? That it's that important for them to be liquid? And then I guess that also leads to, I think it's fairly recent now that like Bybit allows you to speculate on it on Livepeer. So I don't know if that plays any role in either the price or liquidity requirements.
On your topic of,
yeah, go ahead. I'm not an expert in this kind of thing, but I'm just kind of wondering, like, why, if you can get, if you believe in it long term and you're going to get whatever it is, 30-40% return on it, why not stake it?
I think retail. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
No, I would go. If you want to respond to his comment, go ahead. I had another comment to add too, but
I think retail are not the ones doing large unstaking at this point. Like, just over the last day or two, I think it's been this Coinbase orchestrator that has signed off, right?
Gone offline.
And I wonder if, because they could have a completely unrelated reason for doing that has nothing to do with the viability of Livepeer. It could be regulation. It could be liquidity. It could be all types of corporate restructuring. It could be other reasons that aren't to do with their belief in it. So, and they're a pretty big whale, so they can start moving around lots of LPT, and no one actually knows why. So was
there additional LPT that was also unstaked today, Pawn? I think you shared a screenshot somewhere, or was that also Coinbase?
No, it's today, so it's been undelegated over 310,000 LPT.
Is this Coinbase or someone else?
Probably someone else. It came from two different.
It's the AFA orchestrator, the second or the number one orchestrator on the network, is pulling out 300 or 180K LPT from his node itself.
Yeah.
Oh, he was in the Discord, I think.
but he pulled out a big chunk. And again, he can just be taking profits. I mean, we have no idea. The dude's got 2 million LPT, 180K. That's nothing, right? For him, anyway.
I will say though that if these guys are unstaking this amount, like that would blow up the order book if they were doing it on an exchange. So either there's over the counter, there's deals being made, like OTC deals that aren't being put onto the books. In which case,
sorry. What we previously saw with the big amounts of LPT, it gets divided in chunks, like in 30Ks, 20Ks, and sold slowly to the exchanges.
Yeah.
But I think the important factor here for all of this, because again, we can't control any of these. I think the only thing we can look at is watch the price of LPT. Recently, we've seen movement upwards. Like if there was a big concern with the health of the protocol, we'd see that thing start going to zero, right? So the fact that it went from $4, a few months ago to, now $7, right? And I think we've seen a little pop recently too. So when this they undelegate, there's going to be some lag. You'll see, and there might be some pressure downward, but I don't know if it's absorbed in or not. You know what I mean? Like how would we know that this 200K 6 months from now caused the protocol to go down $3? I mean, I don't know. I don't see that part, and I don't think the inflation is going to make the price go to $3 again. Like there's got to be some emotional thing that happens that causes trust to completely disappear.
Has the first 700,000 been unstaked, or is it still in waiting?
It's still sitting there, delegated to orchestrator, but orchestrator is inactive.
Right. So they haven't. That 700,000 is because the orchestrator went inactive, not because of an undelegation.
Yeah. So by the looks of it, orchestrator just delegated a bit too much LPT, left 0 LPT,
right,
without any decimal points.
Which happened to me. I know it's happened to other people, and maybe it was an accident.
Yeah, it happened to me twice by accident.
Yeah. So. Yeah, as for delegation, I think it's pretty hard to speculate on what people are doing and what institutions are doing, because the same could be said, like, we have account abstraction coming out, and you could say, well, maybe they're just undelegating to move their LPT into a smart contract wallet that can be better managed by the entity, and then therefore it might get restaked or reused somehow. So I think it's still pretty early to tell what is happening to the stake. As for the Coinbase orchestrator, I don't know why anyone would go inactive unless it was a bit unintentional. So maybe that was just a fat finger and they're not in the community long enough to know that they're inactive. So
yeah, I heard it was an intern. He's fired.
Yeah, those interns, they're hiring, these companies are hiring interns like crazy, and I think those interns are just, they're just undelegating, right? They're just pressing buttons. they're just smashing the like button, and just things are happening, right? So the Pawn's topic. So for Pawn, I wrote down 2 topics for you: inflation and delegation. So the delegation part, I think this is just the free market dynamic of crypto. I think most ecosystems are plagued with this inability to determine why someone undelegates, where they stand in their opinions of a project. I think every project has this unknown concept about their delegators and what motivates them. So I think that delegation part is just always going to be a tough topic. But I think the inflation argument is actually a really good one, and we need to focus on the incentives. One thing I did write down here for the inflation topic was around the incentives of what we are building what we're doing with our inflation. And I think our inflation is really directed towards orchestrators and delegators. I mean, since the inception of the protocol, 100% of inflation goes to orchestrators and delegators, and only up until Delta do we have another potential use for inflation. So, and what like Papa Bear mentioned, the confidence in the project, directing inflation to builders and users of the Livepeer network, I think, is like a serious thing that we should try and solve. And I don't know how, but yeah.
Yeah, so like putting the ceiling in, it's just gonna make it look better even for delegators. No offense, but if you're gonna come with big chunk of money, and someone's gonna say, "I'm gonna give you in a year 50% more LPT than you brought in," you would look at, it's probably a scam. Sounds too good to be true. So it just starts looking like a shitcoin or Olympus, whatever it was.
But like if we were to move that inflation to video builders building on Livepeer, you could say, hey, we're getting inflated away, but it's for the benefit of builders that are trying to use Livepeer, right? So again, I don't think this problem has been solved. I know the Livepeer Innovators DAO is trying to do this, but one positive thing about high inflation is that the Treasury will fill up quicker with a more substantial amount of LPT, and therefore, we could start handing out more ownership of the network to, like, newly created ownership to builders on the network. And that could have a positive impact because builders and video builders building on top of Livepeer is a pretty small part of the ecosystem right now for active users, right? Yeah. Okay, well, yeah. Anyone else have any opinions on inflation or the delegation?
I mean, just an idea. Like Pom suggested, obviously, in introducing the ceiling, and then one of the questions is obviously, what do you do with sort of like with the extra LPT that the ceiling stops? I mean, it not necessarily has to be distributed straight away to someone else, because I think giving out too much LPT is probably one of the concerns that could have pushed the price down. So I think just an idea, like it could possibly be put into some sort of separate pot and saved, and then once the inflation do reduce, you could actually still give out a little bit extra for longer. When the participation increases and the inflation reduces, you could still give out a bit bigger rewards because you've got that pot set aside and that's been saved through the ceiling.
That's actually not a bad idea. So let's say inflation ceiling comes in at 35% for orchestrators and delegators. Anything above that could go towards providing liquidity for L2 LPT. So something like that could work.
Yeah, that's something to wrestle with for sure.
Yeah, so basically that LPT wouldn't be.
But I mean, that's still that's not gonna change the inflation though. The inflation.
The only thing that's gonna change inflation rate is the removal of tokens from the marketplace, right? That's the only way.
Yeah, but if you lock it up in liquidity provider, it's out of a marketplace, isn't it?
If it's bonded in the smart contract, it's out of the marketplace. If it's in a liquidity provider, it's available to be withdrawn, right? Or swapped. Like you're basically allowing it's liquid. It's more liquid than bonded in a smart contract.
I think you actually make it even easier for people to get it out of being staked potentially. If you're giving a good liquidity market.
If you want to lower inflation rate, you need to burn tokens.
I,
No, but the
my
token
understanding,
go on, Matt.
my understanding is that the inflation rate is directly proportional to the participation rate. So, and the participation rate is the staking participation. So I think one of the unintended consequences of the Delta proposal is that we've got these newly minted LPT tokens going into a bucket that is not delegated and which has an impact on the inflation rate.
Huh.
That's a good point.
I never even thought
That
of that.
is a good point. That's right. That is a good point.
Yeah. Now, I think the Treasury is responsible for currently quite a small amount of LPT relative to the total amount, but that is actually a good. It's like a self-perpetuating decline because as inflation gets put into the Treasury, it's not getting redelegated, which brings down the
In
participation.
fact, it's gonna be sold, right? It'll be given to people to either restake themselves. Once builders build and they start building, they'll either restake it themselves or they'll sell it to pay for their expenses, right?
Yeah. Again, I think it just comes down to incentives, right? Like, I think we want the Treasury to give out funds to people who then can have ownership and stake and earn rewards and have ownership. But in the meantime, if the Treasury never gets, like if Livepeer Innovators DAO doesn't run around and it becomes, a year into the Treasury being alive, and now it holds 10% of the inflation for the last year, that would be something like maybe 1% of the total LPT in circulation it would own that it took away from the participation rate because it's not staked.
And why would that not be staked? I mean, why not build that up faster by staking it?
Who are you gonna stake with, Papa Bear?
With me.
Me.
Put it on my
Me.
No,
Me.
no, I mean, there's a grant node. I mean, there's nodes out there. I mean,
Me.eth.
Yeah, right. Like, so who do you stake the Treasury to? Right? I don't know. That's a
split it up. But I mean,
create another vampire orchestrator called Treasury.eth.
I would still rather have that. Why not? Why not have that be inflating and potentially lowering the time until it hits the ceiling. What?
Someone would actually have to spin up an O and manage that.
No, you just delegate it. But it's just how do you choose who to delegate it to? Like, I don't know. Just delegate it to the community grants node. That's what I would do.
I think it's safe to say we on this call today will not solve the problem.
Yeah, it definitely needs to be addressed, though.
Yeah, delegating.
It's something that'll kind of spiral out of control, if it goes too long. Just snowballs. The inflation rate would just snowball.
Again, if we use inflation to incentivize what we want to have happen in the network, then I think high inflation is not, like, obviously something like 100 or 200% is going to be pretty skeptical from the broad crypto ecosystem. They're going to look at that and go, that's unsustainable. But
another way to look at it is that current orchestrators would benefit from the inflation rate, whereas the Treasury doesn't benefit from inflation because it's not staked anywhere. So, it's a bit of I guess a benefit to orchestrators and delegators for having given up some percentage of their inflationary rewards to go to a treasury that's not delegated somewhere. So you understand that the treasury isn't getting those inflationary rewards where
Yeah, they're
delegators
being
or
diluted. When everyone else is getting rewards that match the inflation rate, the staked LPT goes, you know, you don't lose the value in your proportion of it. But the treasuries, since they're not staking, every time new tokens are minted, the value of the treasury goes down.
Okay. Yeah. Just one last thing we have to consider, because I don't think we're gonna actually stake treasury tokens, but if you stake towards an orchestrator and they get slashed, then your treasury just gets slashed too. And so like who gets punished for that? Like it doesn't. I don't think staking treasury tokens makes sense.
I think the idea for me, at least the way I thought about it, and probably up until now I really haven't shared this thought, but like I always thought about the treasury as like, you know, you're taxing that works 10%, taking that tokens. If no worthy grants come up and the money doesn't get used, I thought initially, you know, at an end of a period of time, just return it back to those people you took it from. And if that's not the case, then perhaps if the tokens sit idle for too long, they get burnt. You know, get rid of them then. If they're just sitting there diluting themselves away, then and that means they have no use, then delete them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Burning unused tokens in the treasury would be the most effective way of
curbing inflation, and also, you know, making sure that that money actually gets used versus sitting idle.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you're always welcome to stake it upon node, you know.
Yeah. I think, but again, as it relates to inflation adjustments, it's not going to make a huge difference in our participation rate, the Treasury, at least for the first year or two. And there is a cap on the Treasury as well. But I would say that a simple adjustment to the target participation rate would curb that. Like, if you wanted to adjust for the Treasury not staking, you would just change the target participation rate to 48%, and that would make up for the difference in Treasury. But again, I think if the community agrees that once we hit 40% inflation, that this is no longer positive for the ecosystem, any one of us can submit an LIP to change that to 30 or 40%, 35%, say, and we can immediately curb the inflation like within 10 days. With no protocol upgrades, with no, right, we could easily just change that target rate to keep things looking healthy.
Well, looking healthier, not healthy.
Yeah. But like I said, I know this is a tough topic, but like the incentive of inflation currently is benefiting delegators and orchestrators. And right now we have an ecosystem full of delegators and orchestrators. But we really have we don't have many customers. Like, we have one broadcaster on the network. So being able to distribute those funds to broadcasters, I think also would be somehow. I think Chris Hobcroft brought this up in the past around staking towards broadcasters and allowing them to earn inflation for bringing traffic to the network and not just being a supplier of compute, right? But yeah, I think redirecting some of the inflation to demand side would be the most beneficial part of inflation, and then curbing the inflation to getting out of control would also be a nice indicator. Yeah. Any other thoughts on inflation? Cool. Well, yeah, that was a good topic, Pod. That was really good. That lasted almost an hour. So
There you go. I do something useful time to time.
yeah, that was like our first topic, and you took us right up to the 1 hour mark. So it was interesting. It's like the frog in boiling water, right? It doesn't jump out until it's like dead. So we got to fix it before it like gets out of control and we realize it.
Yeah, right. I'm on the way to McDonald's. See you later.
Yeah. I love McDonald's. So bad
So
for
do
you.
I.
So good.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Let's move on to the next topic, which was Franck's topic around price per pixel. Franck, do you want to tell us what you're seeing around price per pixel and what your thoughts are about it?
Yeah, sure. I'm just interesting about what you're seeking about the actual algorithm selection at the first talk about maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks with the new one, 2 weeks, I don't know. And we see the price stay very low, and it seems they will not go up. I think they will stay very low because we are stuck between the node who are set a price very close to zero, and the biggest nodes like 0xC9 and Virus who set their price, and this is the top price. We can go over their price if you want to keep a job. So actually it's a 900 for 069, and for Virus I think it's 449 or something like that. So we have to navigate between around 200, 300, maybe less if you want to keep some job, some stream. So I think that's not working very well. It's my opinion, and I am interested to know you talk about that.
I don't think anyone here is going to argue at that point. I don't think it's working very well either. But again, that's whose perspective. I think as a broadcaster, they're probably feeling pretty good about it, right? But as an orchestrator, it's not ideal for running GPU infrastructure. Like the payouts are less frequent. The total amount of payouts is less, and there's no way that like you can move the price, right? Like, okay, I got premium setup and I want to charge premium prices. You charge premium prices and you get no work. So I don't know how prices can go up from here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just gave in and decided to set mine back to 899, but 900 prior to the change, and just stay there until amount of work eventually gets to me. So that's been my way of doing it. But it turns out after doing some math, I can't afford to go below 900. Like it doesn't allow me to make enough money to pay for traffic costs on my VPSs. So I just figured I would set it to the price that I can afford rather than setting it based on what other people are competing against. And so that's how I ended up with that.
Yeah, I'm guessing probably a lot of orchestrators feel like my logo looks about the price per pixel. So now I'm running at 200 PPP as well, just to get some work. I tried 250 and 300. As soon as you go above 200, you're just basically getting nothing. Fighting for scraps.
I've been testing all kinds of prices, low prices, high prices, in between prices. And I have, there's a couple orcs that I work with that, they can change their prices with lower stake to see what impact it has. And if you have higher stake, meaning 50,000, or if you have 150,000, like I've been testing at each of those tiers, trying to find a way to like drive the price up, or at least find a sweet spot. And again, it's you get above 100, and maybe above 150, 200, and you're pretty much almost guaranteed not to get any work.
Yeah, I'm also still testing. I mean, I'm just currently looking at like the ticket value received, total ticket value, just seeing like how adjusting the price per pixel changes the total ticket value that you get, because in the end that's what counts, right? Because it doesn't matter if you get like double the streams if you lower the price by 2/3. I mean, then in the end you'll lose out, right? So
that's right.
I'm still looking at that, but I think due to all the orgs in the low 200s, so like below 200, I think right now the 449 that I've set is actually currently working best for me. Maybe I'll try to go even lower and see if it results in a higher payout. But it's definitely better than 699, which I've been running with before. But again, I think it's due to all the like below the 200 pixel price. I mean, I would be glad to set it higher, but it makes no economic sense for me, right? I need to look at where do I get the highest payout in total.
Yeah, I have dashboards similar to that where I'm tracking, the ETH payout for the ticket value, based on what you're getting. And I mean, it's significantly less. I mean, and the lower the price goes, the worse it is. Even with a large number of streams, you basically have a busy server making no money. So, having busy servers making no money is something that's not going to be sustainable in the long run.
No, it's definitely a balancing act. I mean, I've played around with it quite a bit too. And I mean, I tried going super low where I was up to having 100 streams at a time, and I was making way less. And then, I mean, that, it was just, didn't make any sense to, to run that low. And then I'm still trying to figure out where the sweet spot is. And do you think it's also a changing target based on what, other orchestrators are doing too? But,
and demand as well. Demand also varies. So with the demand varying and with everyone's prices varying, it's almost like we're flying blind, man. We're in the fog and we have no visibility.
Yeah, no, it's definitely tough field to navigate right now.
Yeah, so what all we can do, put our prices high, and people on a 50 price per pixel or close to zero just gonna crash from the load.
I mean, if we can get enough people to move that way, it might happen. But I still think, overall, we'll all see less work. But, at some point we'll see some surges, but they just reboot and get some more, right?
Yeah. Well, that was a joke, by the way, but yeah, no, that's fine. I'm just saying there is no way to control it as long as people gonna go low. We just can't fight it. As Titan says, he pays for his bandwidth, amount of bandwidth he used, so that's totally different for him. I don't pay for it, so but even that, setting price low just doesn't mean that I'm gonna get paid more for it.
I think each org definitely needs to look, as Vire said, to the ticket value and what it means to have streams. If you got 20 streams and you're getting such a low ticket value, your potential payout is so low. How can you operate that way? And maybe you can because you got a GPU sitting at your house and you're paying for the internet and it doesn't cost you anything. But I think most people aren't doing that, or at least if there are a few, that's fine. But they have a capacity limit, and there's probably more demand there to make sure that those people aren't, they're not going to be the lion's share of the network. Well, we don't know though. Like really, we have no idea. We can't tell any of that.
I wonder if it's worth going to Livepeer Inc. and ask, maybe recalibrating their weight on price per pixel. They're just one broadcaster in the network, but they're also biggest. And it's like, well, would we benefit from a greater weight on stake again, like we used to, or are they happy with their price per pixel move?
Well, look, dude, I mean, if you look at the ETH payouts per month, they're happy, right? If it goes from 18 to 20 ETH per month and we're down to like 7 ETH per month, based on the current payouts. So like, it's a significant reduction in ETH payouts per month. So I think they're not going to, I mean, as a broadcaster, this is the greatest thing ever. But obviously there's a balance here which we need to establish. And I think what, Hunter and some of the other folks said was, we want the community to have plug-in systems in place so that they can test algorithms. Obviously that stuff's not in place, but somebody's got to provide them feedback that says, hey, look, man, this isn't working, or here's the cost of operating as an orchestrator. We talked about, folks are going to just start shutting their doors and closing down. And then, once supply is gone, yeah, sure, if the demand comes, it might come back, but it might not. Once the supply is gone, it might be gone for good. And then, you as Livepeer Inc. have a risk of not being able to run on the network. Obviously, that's not the concern today, but it's still, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't pay. Like there's a lot of, it's just significantly reduced.
Cool. Yeah. Anyone else have an opinion on price per pixel?
No, I just want to be a nosy bit and ask Viras a question. So adjusting price per pixel, when we change algorithm, how much your stream load dropped by any chance? If it's not a secret, I'm just being nosy now.
I think like at the current at 449, I think it's like 20% lower than before at like 1,200. So in total, it's like a huge reduction, right? Because I have like 1/3 of the original price and also even lower traffic.
All right, so hit you quite a bit then.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm still fine, right? Because we have the LPT inflation. But it's, yeah, obviously it's still sucks.
Yeah, remember the demand didn't change. So the only way lower orcs are getting more streams, it's taking from the top tier orcs. So with the way it was instituted, it was almost, I wouldn't say targeting the larger orcs, but it's inevitable that in order for the lower people to get their streams, they have to take from the upper. So like it spreads the work out a little more, but it just completely depresses the price for everybody.
I mean, the positive thing is that it's at least Sybil resistance, right? It's not like you don't benefit from setting up multiple orgs, like some other ideas were that were floating around, like limiting the stake per org or something like this. I mean, with the price, well, you don't benefit if you set up multiple orgs. So there's that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Have like how about like you other orgs like the mid, like those are around 100k stake? How has the traffic, has it like increased for you, or how is it looking for you?
No, it decreased, to be honest. Well, sorry, not decreased. Keeping 200 price per pixel, I have more or less the same traffic I had before, 1200 price per pixel. Probably other guys feels the same, I'm guessing.
Yeah, with the experiments I'm doing, I can see that, as Papa Bear mentioned, he can lower his price down to 50 and 20 and 30. You're going to see, 100 streams, whereas before, you were getting, 5, 10 streams, right? So you get a massive increase, but to what payout? You get zero payout, or your payout is significantly less, even with 5 streams at 900. So it was like, oh great, you're getting work. This is awesome. GPUs are hitting hard. It's great. It's awesome. But then like you start recalculating that payout, and then you start looking at the infrequency of your tickets, and it's like, damn, my server's just more busy, and I'm not getting paid anything. So then you got to start testing upwards again, seeing how high can you go to get back to at least the ETH payout you're at. But I think in general, I've seen, a small increase, but my price is lower and I've been testing. So, and again, I think it's going to try to find it. I'm pushing my way up again as much as I can, but it's very hard.
I mean, my projected ETH daily on average is about half of what it used to be, and my price is like less than a quarter of what it used to be to get work. If I go higher than this, then my stream counts drop even more, and then my projected ETH goes down. Again, it's a little hard to truly judge because you don't know what the demand is at any given time, but that seems to be about where it stands. With what I consider to be about like the right price, and they're different in different regions, but averaging, slightly under 200, it's about half of the projected ETH is what it used to be.
So I guess like
about a quarter of the price.
From
so it's more stream. I'm getting more streams than I was at when I was like at 900. But but my price is lower, and my overall ETH is about, like I said, about half, or maybe even a little less than that.
Yeah, so it's probably the same for everybody. Like if you look at the economical payouts, it's just everybody's off worse than before. I think like we can summarize them, maybe like the streams are basically they went to orgs with like really low pixel prices, so it's essentially like providing almost free transcoding, right? So that's where the streams went, basically.
Yeah,
I mean, I think so. Yeah. I mean, the stake still does play a role. We don't know how the weighting is on that. So obviously the higher stake you have, the more you can charge and still get the same amount of work as someone with a lower amount. But we don't know what the exact formula is.
Yeah, look at yours and mine setup. I had to lower my price per pixel 6 times to get the same amount of work, and I'm getting paid less. It sounds like I'm working as an Amazon delivery driver now.
Transcode, you had a question here around the selection algorithm. Does it take into, you said you linked a video from the default selection process explained by, I believe, Yondon from a couple of years ago. So no, it's changed now. It used to be just the max, as long as you're under the max price per pixel, you had equivalent chances as everyone else, and then it just went on based on stake and all these other things. But about 2 weeks ago, was it 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, something like this, they made it so that the lower the price
month
per
and
pixel,
a half.
Month and a half? Oh, it's been a while. Okay. A month and a half ago, they changed it so the price per pixel has a direct relation to the amount of work you get. So the lower the price, the higher the chance. And if you could imagine, that made a bit of a race to the bottom. Yeah, so I'm new, so I missed that. Yeah, no worries. No, it's a relatively new thing. So now I understand the whole problem. Yes, you can see what's going on. Yes, since now price is more dynamic. Yeah, been going down and up and trying to figure out what the equilibrium is. Yeah, just trying to figure out. The other thing is, yeah, we're operating at a bit of a loss in terms of ETH revenue. But in terms of LPT inflation, obviously, inflation's going up. So that's
I was waiting till we're gonna say that.
Yeah. So Yeah. Do you have the source of this change? The source of this change.
Livepeer Inc.
You have the source. You mean like, do you want a video explaining the change? No, the code. Yeah, GitHub. Or no. Does anyone know where this is published?
Yeah, it's in GitHub. If you go to the Go Livepeer for the latest release, there's a bunch of pull requests that show there they added, the weighting component for price. There's some new flags for the broadcaster that they can change the weightings for price and stake.
And I believe Livepeer Inc. has not published their weightings, their weights. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That's correct.
So we don't actually know. But we believe.
Lower you go, more work you get.
Yes. Okay, well, yeah. Any other comments on price per pixel? I mean, I feel like a solution to a solution to the price per pixel problem is just more traffic on the network. And then what you would get is just people realizing they can't operate at a loss, and so therefore they're forced to rise it higher and actually look at their numbers.
Or zero inflation.
Oh yes, zero inflation would definitely make people raise their prices. And the Treasury would no longer get any rewards. So,
As long as the stake the pawn node, it's all right.
I think you're right, though. Demand is the answer, right? If the protocol is to work and succeed, we literally need more streams, period. And the price will go up. People will not run at a loss. They're running at a loss because they're able to steal work. But that is only going to go so far. If the more demand is there, people are going to pay for the higher price because it's still significantly cheaper.
I'm not going to argue against more work being a good thing on the network, but I think if there's more work, people are going to add more orchestrators as long as it's profitable. So I think that you'll still have the same issues.
I think it would get rid of the zero. I think it would get rid of the sub 100 price per pixel orcs. That would be my prediction.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I guess if someone just has a single orc running in there, figure might as well fill it up. Then, yes. But I think from, for if you're getting it, if you're making something and you're filling up your orc, might as well add another one, even if you're not making a lot. Still something.
Yeah.
I mean, if I could get more work in LA, I'd put more cards in. I mean, I have them sitting here. I just don't. I just don't. It doesn't. I just don't have the work to justify it.
Yeah, but if we gave you enough work to fill up all your cards and fill up your bandwidth, you would then look at that and go, okay, the next step is for me to expand. So before I expand, let's make sure I'm making money. Let's make sure I have a healthy profit margin. So I'm going to increase my price so that, I'm accurately have a base model to expand upon, right? And like just to put things into perspective, like Twitch has something like 2 million concurrent streamers a day, and the Livepeer network is doing maybe like a couple hundred. Like I don't know, but like Livepeer Inc. is probably doing a couple hundred. Like the amount of work we're doing is not a good indication of what we can scale and what the economic diversity and dynamic would be at scale. Like it is severely altered in the side of supply right now. So, there's just so much supply chasing so little demand that it's like you know, the pricing conversation is just hard to work with in general. You know, if Livepeer Inc. started pushing 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 streams into the network currently, I think that this conversation would be quite different. So, yeah.
Well, I think all the orcs that can operate profitably with where they are just going to continue to add, and I think the distribution is going to stay about the same, but I could be wrong. I mean, I would assume varies you'd add more cards if it justified it. I would.
Yeah.
But does that
probably. I
statement
mean,
apply by removing cards if it doesn't warrant it?
Yeah, probably does. Well, if you're gonna look at all orchestrators, my GPUs, all GPUs across the globe are not even 30% maxed. So I already have a lot of spare capacity there. I believe everyone does. So it should take a lot of streams to start maxing it out and start adding stuff.
Definitely. Well, this is this is the topic I forgot to mention at the beginning, but this also comes into the question of max sessions and streams. Transcode brought this up in chat. Oh, he's got to go. We were just going to talk about how max sessions is a really poor metric for determining how much work we can actually handle. So that in itself,
I agree with that.
you know, I think the price per pixel conversation is important, but I wonder to what degree we're going to start breaking things by continuing on with the current max session model. Like, especially with VOD as it came in, like you're doing these 10-second segments, you know, in parallel, transcoding like 1080p back into 1080p, which is very taxing. And yet that's the same thing as a 480p stream that, you know, is you can handle a lot of those. And so you can end up with this like breaking of workloads.
Yeah. I've seen where my card is completely. I have a single card that can completely be maxed out at 5 sessions, and I've seen that same card also handle 20+ sessions. So I definitely agree with that. That sessions is not a good metric for setting your maximum capacity.
Are we not able to set based on pixel output? Like the stream like calculates how many pixels it's processing. Like, can we not do it?
Does the broadcaster know that when it sends it out? I'm not sure. I'm just asking because that would make a lot more sense.
I don't think, even if the broadcaster didn't know, it's not based on the broadcaster, based on the orchestrator willing to accept the stream.
Well, that's a good point. So I don't know when the orchestrator does that count, because I mean I do track the number of pixels that I process, but I don't know if that's done after the fact, or I guess if it's happening concurrently with what is going on, you can basically say, okay, this is all this card can handle. That also brings up the issue of decode versus encode, which is another big issue that, depending on the card, I mean I have some cards that have two decoders and some cards that have two encoders, but no cards that have equal amounts, and it's generally one is the limiting factor. So there's a lot to be considered there. And then that also brings me to when at one point weren't we talking about like we were going to be getting compensated for decoding as well as encoding, and I know we've kind of completely gone the other way now, where it's now we're just getting paid less overall, but I see a lot of times where the decode is my limiting factor. So someone sending a 4K stream in, that's really that puts a lot of strain on the cards. And I think that nowadays that phones can do that. I don't know how much that we're getting, but I definitely see my decoders getting pushed pretty hard in general.
Well,
especially much more lately than I used to.
like I hop on Twitch every once in a while, and like they're running all the streams that have. I don't know what their threshold is, but the streamers I follow, they're all doing 60 frames per second now. Like they're doing 1080p 60 frames per second. That's like the standard. And it's all sub, 3 seconds. And so, not that the seconds count, because I don't know if they're doing a WebRTC or what they're doing over there, but yeah, they're all 60 frames per second. And so, yeah, like even that is something that we should really be considering, because I think the trend is definitely moving towards 60 frames per second. It's like, to me, I see a bigger difference in 30 to 60 frames per second than I do in 1080p to 4K. Like I can't even tell the difference between 1080 to 4K. Maybe that's because I don't have a 4K monitor, so that's my problem. But yeah, that would be it. But
you're talking about viewing. You're talking about viewing.
Yeah,
you're talking about viewing it.
Yeah. But 60 frames per second is like it's becoming the new standard, right? So
yeah, it depends on the content, but yeah, but if you're watching gaming and stuff like that, then yeah, 60 is definitely preferable. Most gamers can't even really game at 4K and still keep up a good frame rate either. So
right. So, but anyway,
yeah, I mean 60 frames. That's twice the amount of frames coming in. So, but still, that's going to be at least relatively even on the encode decode side. Whereas if you're getting 4K stuff coming in and you're then transcoding that down, you'll see a much more imbalance in the cards.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I just wanted to bring up that topic just to resurface that topic, but in the short term, I don't think anything will be done about it. And I don't think there needs to be. It sounds like we have way too much capacity anyway, so I just know that transcode.eth, he was dealing with all these, kept running into errors on his transcoder, and he was trying to figure out whether it was because of his load. And I just kind of explained to him, like, if you're trying to determine your load based on sessions in production Livepeer, that just doesn't work, because it's not apples to apples. So only in benchmarking can you kind of compare.
Yeah, I do believe he's gonna be getting quite few streams as well now, because his price per pixel is set at 0.
But he wasn't even getting an out of memory error. I don't even know. It was like he was getting all types of weird errors. So I don't know what his situation is, but Transcode says he's at 300 to 400. So I don't think he's 0.
Well, Explorer shows 0 for him.
Don't always believe what you see on the Explorer.
Yeah, definitely don't believe what you see on the Explorer.
Yeah, I just
think the Explorer also it also shows only one region, the Explorer, but a lot of times that thing is not accurate. From it's just not. I'm not going to say even from my experience, it's not accurate. I mean, there are times where I could change my pixel price and not see an update on the Explorer for days.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, well, that's price per pixel and stream maxSessions. Lots to think about there. If anyone else has any deep thoughts about it, or want to explain what they're thinking about, especially everything we've talked about in the past about inflation and price per pixel, I highly encourage you to write a forum post and really flesh out your ideas and post them on the Livepeer forum. I think that's a really good place to reference conversations like this and allow you to have deeper thought and communication about potential problem. It doesn't even have to be a solution. It can just be a problem statement where we can kind of reference back to. So if you're inclined at all, I would highly encourage you to write a forum post. Okay, let's move on to another topic. Jonas, yeah, you had a topic around Treasury fund usage, as well as traffic. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your topic?
Yeah, it's it's not as much as traffic, but it's related to both the price per pixel that obviously we've been talking on a lot tonight and in the past few weeks. It's just basically what's happened, obviously, with the Treasury fund. A percentage of what the orchestrators earn basically got put, and then a few weeks later, this new selection algorithm came in, and obviously we had to reduce the price per pixel, which again reduced the payout. So I think from like listening in tonight, it raises a lot of concerns from orchestrators and maybe even negativity. You know, we can hear some negativity from some. But I understand that obviously this reduced price was to do with trying to bring more video streams to, you know, to be more to become cheaper and basically become more popular, I suppose. So we get more streams, we get more work, and I understand that this is in the end supposed to obviously increase the workload and increase the payouts again. So my question was really I don't know if it's maybe a bit too soon to ask. I know it's only been a couple of months since both changes been introduced, but the question really was just has anything positive happened? Have we had any like a really positive trust fund applications that maybe been approved and something really exciting happening, or was there an increase in the video streams overall? You know, that's been transcoded through all the orchestrators. So that's just basically that's the question. Is there any positive news?
Yeah, so I'll take a whack at answering some of those. I think the first question around your price per pixel change, around it being solely around attracting streamers, I don't actually think it was fundamentally only about decreasing price to be more competitive. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, one of the main reasons was actually to eliminate the Sybil attack of having people spin up multiple orchestrators because of the randomness factor built into the selection algorithm. And so rather than just eliminating the randomness factor to eliminate the Sybil attack, then you would just have 100% 100% work selection based on stake. And I think we've tried that in the past, and it wasn't very good for the network. So they went with this pricing model to try hand out work more distributed more evenly. But yeah, so that's I actually don't think it was to save money from Livepeer Inc. I think it was actually to make distribution of streams more even and prevent people from spinning up multiple O's.
Did someone say that, or is that just your assumption? I this is the first time I'm hearing that. I had no idea.
Yeah, I'm thinking exactly the same thing, just because we lowered CKTV values as well to stop overpayment.
Yeah, but that was just a problem with just the first segment. That was just a problem that's been like that for a while. Like a VOD, you know, first segment VOD issue. They determined that it was costing them a lot more. They didn't identify it early enough. But my understanding was the price per pixel change was just as much about reducing Sybil attack as it was reducing price.
Oh, I must have missed that if that was like brought up in the 4R and the I guess anywhere. I didn't see any talk about that, but I thought it was just I thought they were trying to lower the price just to be much cheaper than the competition.
Oh, I was under the assumption that they wanted to remove the 30% randomness because of people just spinning up multiple O's and it being unfair. And so if you eliminate that, you've got to, you know, then we're just back to 100% stake weighted. And So this, you have to come up with some sort of metric to hand out work that isn't based on stake, that is also not subjective. And the only other metric they came up with was price. So if we favor price, then we can now hand out work based on price competition.
Yeah, but if you think about it this way, so same people that has 10 orchestrators just lowered the prices, and we're doing exactly the same thing, just not getting paid for it.
Yeah, but that fixes the Sybil attack, right? The point of the attack is you get paid more. But if you're willing to do it cheaper, then that's just you willing to do it cheaper. It doesn't matter whether you have 10 orchestrators or one orchestrator, right? If you're willing to do it cheaper, you get the stream, right? Having more orchestrators doesn't necessarily give you, actually, with the new pricing update, having more orchestrators doesn't help you get streams at all, right? Because it's completely based on stake and price.
Yeah, but if you're gonna think it about a bit different way, I'm gonna mention Virus now. No offense to him, but let's say Virus adds another 10 GPUs in every single region, drops his price down to 50 price per pixel. He's taking most of the workload, isn't he?
Yeah, but that's a deserving workload because he's willing to offer a cheaper price. Whereas if you spin up 10 orchestrator nodes, you're getting more work, but you're still charging the high price. So you're actually stealing work of that high price. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying it's like a perfect one-to-one fix. I'm saying that they wanted, I know for a fact, they wanted to get rid of the randomness factor. But in doing so, then you're left with just stake-weighted selection. And we've experienced 100% stake-weighted selection in the early days, and it was, it skewed streams, and so now they wanted to try price, to try, distribute streams.
Well, in the past, also, performance was part of it too, because you had to be like one of the top first 8 to respond. Wasn't that the case at one point? To a broadcaster request.
Yeah, that used to be the case, and then they made it so it's just.
I'm not saying that would. I'm not saying that would fix what's going on here. I mean the Sybil attack part of it, but just to paint an accurate picture of the way it used to work in the past. It wasn't just 100% stake weighted.
You're right. It was stake plus you had to respond in the first 8 orchestrators. But there was still attacks based on performance because you could just put 8 nodes. You could spin up 8 orchestrator nodes.
I remember you famously talking about that when I joined. That's how that's how I'm aware of that.
You can spin up 8 orchestrator nodes, put them all on one spot, and then you've completely taken up that one or a broadcaster's the whole selection piece of it. So again, there's a bit of then that becomes a performance attack, right? And then absolutely, yeah. I did that. They changed it so that you just have to respond within a certain amount of time. So now you could have all 100 orcs available for selection. So then that attack factor was gone. Then they introduced the randomness factor, but then you could spin up multiple orcs, so you got more randomness. That was undeserving. So then they got rid of that, and then so now they brought in price per pixel to try, do it on this like price competition / stake weighted model, and yeah, this is where we are today. So there's always a trade-off, it seems. But so to answer, okay, I was under the assumption they were trying to make the selection algorithm more fair. That was the purpose for price per pixel. I didn't think it was actually to save in expenses from transcoding, because we're already transcoding at like 5 to 10 times cheaper than Web 2 options. But now we're transcoding something like 15 to 50 times cheaper, right? So I don't think it was to save income. I think it was to save expenses. I thought it was to try and make it more fair.
I think including the pixel price as a selection factor was always on the roadmap. I mean, it makes sense, right? It doesn't make sense that like a broadcaster says, well, we'll pay anything up to this amount. It makes more sense to say, give me the cheapest price that you can offer. So and I think the randomness factor with the Sybil stuff was just like a good accelerator to try to remove the randomness and implement the price. So I think it's a mix of both. But I think Hunter was definitely pushing for implementing the pixel price as a factor. And I think he was also under the impression that the recent pixel price, like the 1,200 one, was way too high due to like the increase in ETH and everything.
Yeah, and to add more confusion to the whole thing is ETH fluctuates in price quite dramatically. So the thing we're basing our income in, our price per pixel adjusts based on the price of ETH, which adjusts based on another free market dynamic. So, yeah.
Yeah, but let's say ETH goes 5x now. So what, we're gonna drop our price to pixel, like in my scenario, to 50?
Don't know. I guess it's up to you, Mr. Free Market Participant. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, anyway, this was all based on Jonas's question around the price per pixel update. I was under the impression it was about making the selection more fair. Other people think it was about reducing cost. I think it's probably a bit of both. So, or maybe one more than the other. I don't know. Does anyone else want to comment on that particular, why this update happened? Or their opinion of it? If not, then the second question Jonas had was around fund applications. So, Jonas, right now, nobody has applied to use those funds in the Treasury. So, Treasury is gaining LPT daily, but it has not been deployed anywhere as of yet. So there's been no...
So just a little update. We have 44k LPT in the Treasury at the moment.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah, so if anyone has a bright idea, please apply.
That brings up a question. So for the Innovators DAO, is that only for supply side? I feel on the last call I was driving and I had a really bad connection. I think it was the last call. Titan, did you say that it was not only for supply side stuff? It could be for anything network related, or am I just like imagining things and I was just driving and not paying attention?
So the question came up: is it just supply side? Is it just demand?
I'm sorry, demand side. Yeah, sorry.
The mandate of the DAO originally is for demand side. So anyone creating demand on the network is eligible. No ifs, ands, or buts. It could be closed sourced, private, could be, doesn't matter. Like, just if you're driving demand, you're eligible. And someone came along and said, well, does it only have to be demand driven stuff? Can it be, supply, right? And I said, I think the answer to that was, well, we're a DAO and we can do anything we want if we vote on it. So if we want to pivot to being more broad, we can. Anyone can hop onto Snapshot, maybe make a forum post on how we want to adjust to be more broad, make a snapshot to adopt it, and, then we can start making proposals for supply side stuff. So, like, I'm not the only one that gets to decide where we head. So that was the answer to that, is yes, we could pivot if we wanted to. Now, we haven't successfully done a demand side thing yet, so maybe we should just focus on that. But yeah. That being said, it doesn't stop people from just collectively getting together. Like, you don't need a DAO necessarily to vote on spending treasury funds, right? Anyone can put forward a treasury thing and say, hey, listen, I've put together a list of orchestrators and tool makers of over the past 2 years. Here are their addresses. Here's how much I think they should get paid, and you can submit that to the Treasury. So,
Individuals can. I thought it had to be from a DAO or
Nope.
a group. I thought. Oh, God, wow,
no,
shows how much good my comprehension's been the last couple of weeks.
the Treasury.
I thought Doug said that was the goal, was to not have the Treasury interact directly with, I guess, the requesters of funds.
The Treasury it literally accepts proposals from any single person. So anyone, you can just say like, hey, I'm Papa Bear. I think I'm pretty cool with my bear glasses on. Give me 10,000 LPT out of the Treasury. You can do that. Like, it's literally, I just posted the link to the Treasury in the chat. Anyone could submit a proposal. The purpose of the Innovators DAO was that we wanted to do rounds that were substantial enough to get people excited. And for you to do that, having a DAO with a collective vote on who deserves what, and a trail of how we got there and the reasons why they deserve it, makes it more compelling for us to go, yes, we want to spend something like $4 million out of the Treasury to these people. And it, it's like an LIP thing. Like, you have to build confidence in your LIP before you publish it. You don't just publish things, right? So the idea behind the DAO is, let's advertise that people are eligible. Let's get applications put together and let's rate them as a DAO. Let's formally put it into a post on who's eligible, how much they should earn, and how we came to this conclusion. And then let's take all that evidence and put it forward to the Treasury, and let's ask for a substantial amount of money. And, hey, this has been well thought out by 30 people. Yes, most people, most delegators will say yes to this type of proposal. That's the theory behind the DAO, is slow big moves, right? Whereas, like, yeah, anyone can just put forward a proposal. You can do it right now. It's actually very easy. But whether you
So for example, like if Mike Zuper wanted to apply for, let's say, a grant for building the Livepeer tools, he could directly just ask the Treasury. I mean,
yes,
obviously they could say whatever they want, but he would.
You would need 33% of all delegators to vote to get quorum. So,
Live Tools isn't a video app,
I see
though.
how it works.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a video app.
Okay.
Listen,
Forgot about that part
if you post it to the Treasury, it's just like an LIP. If you post it to the Treasury, like, it's whatever you want it to be, man. Like, but it just has to, you've got to hit, a 50% yes vote, and you have to hit quorum. So if you put forward a proposal, you can put one forward right now. It's literally empty. There's literally not been a single proposal to the Treasury yet, and there's 44,000 LPT in there.
Got it. No, I mean, originally I was just wondering about the Innovators DAO, if it was just demand side, but then once you brought that up, then it made me start thinking about Treasury directly, and something I guess at one point I did know, because I've seen like that there's voting and everything there, but I never really like thought it all the way through. So now that you've cleared that up, I have a better understanding of how both parts of it work.
Yep.
It's like Titan says, someone can come up with a list saying, look guys, this orchestrator has been doing a lot of work for the network. These guys have built so many tools. I request whatever X amount of LPT, and I'll be distributing them across all them people. So That proposal goes to Treasury. Then it goes for a vote. If it's approved, yeah, there you go. Christmas bonus to everyone.
Yeah.
Got it. All right.
I was thinking about
Appreciate you guys
putting
clearing that up.
forward a proposal saying, here's a proposal for $100,000 to Brad at Astra so he can quit his job and integrate AV1 into Livepeer immediately. So if this vote passes, he'll quit his job and do that for us.
Just make sure you tell him to sign a paper first that he's going to quit his job and work on Livepeer.
Yeah. Put that to the Treasury. Here, this one guy is going to single-handedly like include AV1 into Livepeer, and don't worry, he'll have the time because we're going to give him a lot of money. He's going to quit his job. You know, like, I don't know. You can be as creative as you want. Like, it's a Treasury, man. And if it gets voted down, whoop-de-doo. Like, it just goes down the list as something that got voted down. Like, it's just, I'm trying to build, the DAO is trying to build a high degree of confidence that this should be voted through, right? Because imagine if the DAO came to the Treasury and said, yeah, we want to distribute this large amount of funds. We think this person and this person should get it. And it's like, okay, how much research have you done that these people actually deserve this money? And how do we know that this isn't just your own wallet, right? Like the wallet you post on chain that should be in the Treasury proposal, the wallet that should be funded. How do you even know that that's not just the wallet of like the person putting forward the Treasury, like, and they just steal the money, right? So, yeah. But yeah, anyone can put forward a proposal. It's actually quite simple, surprisingly simple. I encourage you to click the link. Like, if you just go to the Explorer and click on Treasury, you can click.
No, I see it. I see it, and I've seen it in the past. I just, I guess it never really occurred to me that, like, yeah, that's just for basically anyone can click that and ask.
You put in a title, description, how much you're applying for, and where you want to go. That's it, and that's it. So it's not overly complicated.
No, you've made it pretty clear. I got it. But now I see Brad's now in the audience. Should we ask him if he wants the 100,000?
Oh, there he is.
He's quitting his job.
Brad, come up to stage. We have a proposal for you. See if he comes.
He's like, what? 100,000? What am I
There
quitting
you
my
go.
job? What's happening?
All right, Brad.
Hey guys.
We're gonna put forward a proposal to the Treasury. We're gonna fund you with $100,000 for you to quit your job and integrate AV1 into Livepeer.
That was Titan's idea, by the way.
So all we need this is in writing from you, and then I'll put forward the proposal.
You need in writing what? That I quit my job.
Yeah, you'll quit your job and work full time on AV1 integration for $100,000.
I feel like you got the steps out of order.
No, man. Well, no.
He was the money first. That's right. I'm still working on it. It's just lots going on, guys.
No. I'm serious. Just put it down. Just publish it as an NFT. I at Astra Video will quit my job if I get $100,000 to integrate AV1. I'll put that as a proposal, and once it passes, it'll automatically get funded to you, and then away you go. I think it's I think it's a great first proposal, and it's nice because it really affects someone's life, which makes it feel real, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the Treasury. Jonas, hopefully that answers your question around where we are with the Treasury. All right. Well, I think that's all the topics. Yeah, I think we've gone through them all. Any last comments or questions before we sign off?
Yeah, I'd like to ask a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so for the DAO, right? The administrators, I just want to know what's up with it, because looking at the channel, it's not like a lot happening in there. And I know with the last call we had, you mentioned something about 7 months timeline. So are we, I mean, like, what's the plan for the administrators? Are we making moves towards preparation for that to happen? Are we going to start making moves to putting out word out for the builders to know that, okay, yeah, they can actually apply for funding?
Yeah,
I just want to know what the plan is generally. Yeah.
Yeah, of course,
What's
of course.
the game plan?
Yeah, the game plan is right now we're trying to get applicants to apply for the round. And it's not so much applying as much as just we have to gather the correct information so that they can be awarded the round, right? So, you know, if people have built something on Livepeer, we have to prove that they actually did build it, and that the payout address is who they say they are, right? And so you literally just direct them to the livepeerinnovatorsdao.com, where they can apply, and that's where they can fill in all that information. So right now we're just in the marketing phase of just getting the word out there about the first round. So reaching out, you know, we have our first meeting was about a month ago, and we talked about different roles. So people having the role of reaching out to individual projects. So hoping that those people follow through on some of those commitments, and then in the meantime, everyone else in the DAO can start just publicizing or reaching out to people building on Livepeer to start providing their information for us to process. So that's just where we are with it. We're just in the marketing phase.
Okay, so there's really not a lot for the administrators to like do right now.
Well, creating content around what the round looks like, right? So creating Twitter posts, YouTube videos, blog posts, things around actually publicizing and getting people to know about the program, so the retroactive grant program. So that is kind of where we're at. So if you can build content around that, please do, and then record any time in the Treasury timesheet. And in doing so, then you can get compensated for your efforts in marketing the program.
Okay, thank you. That's what I wanted to know, because I'm actually available to start making content, and I wanted to know if, you know, it's a go ahead or we're waiting for like a while. So yeah.
Nope, it's 100% go ahead. If you have an idea on how to publish, and if you wanna make adjustments to the website, the forum, if you want to make content, just go ahead and start recording your time in the timesheet, and that's it. Yeah, it's all go ahead.
Okay, sorry. If I also want to post on Twitter about the funding round, can I use like my personal Twitter account? What's the process for that?
Yes, yeah, of course. Personal accounts, yeah, use whatever
And
you
then
want to use.
All right.
Yep. And yeah, use your personal accounts. And like I said, we did have a reach out group, so you know people can reach out to previous grant participants, hackathons, all this kind of stuff. So yeah, just reaching out and publicizing that retroactive grant funding is coming to Livepeer. Like everyone in the DAO should be publicizing that now, and getting people to apply, or at least submit their projects so that we know who's eligible.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, awesome. Okay, well, we've been at this for 2 hours. Do appreciate everyone's time being here, and yeah, making Livepeer the open video infrastructure of the world. So thank you all for being here. We'll see you next week. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
See you, everyone.
Bye bye.